We're going to sign SB 256, which is paycheck protection. You have this situation with school unions. You have a right to not do it, but what they do is they provide authorization forms, blanket authorization for automatic deduction of dues.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is facing a lawsuit by the largest teachers union in the state to prevent the implementation of some of the anti-union policies that he and the Republican state legislature are championing. Now, before we get into the details about the lawsuit, let's just do a little refresher on the policies that the teachers union wants to fight back against. So the legislation known as Senate Bill 256 bars most unions representing government employees from receiving dues directly from workers' paychecks, so no direct deposit. It also requires that those unions maintain at least 60% membership in their workplaces to avoid being decertified and losing their collective bargaining agreements. Now, 60% membership sounds like it's not a big deal if you happen to live in a state that values labor unions and makes joining the union compulsory, right? So I'll give you an example. When I was working at a Ralph's supermarket when I was 18, the workers there were unionized. I had no choice. I had to join the union and pay dues. And that's a way of ensuring that the union isn't destroyed and dismantled as a result of people being able to make the decision. In states like Florida, workers can make the decision as to whether or not they join the union or not. And this effort to essentially avoid the automatic dues payments, basically having it automatically taken from your account, and instead using checks, like you'd have to mail in checks to the union to pay your dues instead. Obviously, that's a way to make it even more difficult for the unions to stay afloat because workers would have to take the extra step of literally writing a check and mailing it in.
Yeah, look guys, this is actually devastating. There's two giant problems with this. One, it will devastate the teachers unions for sure. Because I know through my experience in business, like if you create what's called friction, it makes something way less likely to happen.
Yep.
If you take it out of their checks, that's normal. There's no friction at all. They don't have to do anything. They don't have to actively do anything. If you say you have to actively send in a check every week, at best, half of them will do it. At best. And then that challenges the organizing of the labor unions because then they're gonna have to organize even better to make sure everybody's sending in their checks, which by the way, that is also gonna cost them money. And meanwhile, this is all money taken out of their coffers that DeSantis figures can't be given to Democrats, okay? And that's why he's doing this. That leads us to the second giant problem, which is he's doing it for only this union that he doesn't like.
Yes.
He's not doing it for the police union, he's not doing it for the firefighters union. So he's selectively saying, if you're a union that supports me, I will pass laws in your favor. If you're a union who doesn't support me, I will pass laws against you. So number one, that's a hideous thing to do. You're supposed to represent all of Florida and not just attack your political enemies through the law. You're supposed to attack your political enemies during a campaign. You're supposed to make a case against them. But when you're governing, you're not supposed to say, I'm punishing you with the people's money or their laws, etc., because you're against me politically. And he's brazenly doing that here. And by the way, if you're a right winger and you claim that you're for all of these things like, oh my God, I want the government out of my life, I hate government tyranny, etc. This is him picking favorites here and saying, I'm gonna use the power of big government to crush my political opponents. If a Democrat did that or a progressive did that, the right wing would lose their minds.
Now, he did not address the double standard with government unions here, how he is having this policy impact teachers unions, but not police unions or firefighter unions and all that. He didn't address that. But he did try to justify the union busting tactics in the next clip. So let's take a look at that.
We're gonna sign SB 256, which is paycheck protection. You have this situation with school unions. You have a right to not do it, but what they do is they provide authorization forms, blanket authorization for automatic deduction of dues. So even though a lot of teachers don't do it, many teachers feel pressure to do it. And so what this bill does is it protects them. It says no automatic deduction for school union dues. If you want to join, you can, but you write a check and you hand it over. That is going to lead to more take-home pay for teachers because they're not going to have as many deductions in their paycheck. It's also something that's going to allow the state to look at how many people are joining. And if you don't have a sufficient number of joining, then that should not be the bargaining unit if you don't even represent the majority of people.
So the teachers union in Florida does manage to get a little over 60% union membership. But understand that making it more difficult to pay the dues might actually impact that percentage, and he knows it. This is also an effort to decertify the union by making it more difficult for those teachers to pay the union dues. And by the way, if the teachers don't want to be part of the union, they don't have to be part of the union. They don't have to pay dues because in Florida, joining the union is not compulsory.
Yeah, and so they call that misleading the right to work state. So guys, I'm actually a little bit more mixed on that as a matter of policy, but I want you to know both sides. So yes, it's true. It is compulsory and they do take it out of your check, and a lot of people say, well, I don't want that, right? And I remember when I was super poor and I was trying to get into radio, and then you have to join a union, and then they take a big chunk in dues, etc., right? And you're barely struggling to make ends meet, and oftentimes not making it, okay? So there are some arguments against it, but you have to remember the arguments in favor of it, which is that, hey, in this case, the teachers union, but it could be the cops union, it could be any union, right? Negotiates on your behalf and gets you a much higher salary. Well, they did the job then they got you a higher salary, and so you should pay your dues for the good work that they did. Instead, this allows the selfish to go, no, I'm gonna take the higher wages, but I'm just not gonna pay the dues.
The free riders.
Yeah, I'm gonna let the other 60% who are the good guys pay the dues, and I'm gonna free ride off of it. And that's why that is built in, that protection is built in, and DeSantis just took that protection away. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.